Elephant leather is a thick, durable, coarse leather with a pebbled texture. It has a really unique and irregular grain pattern with a mix of smoother and rougher areas. The color can vary, but it generally ranges from a grayish brown to a dark brown. It may have some scars or scratches or abrasions or even natural wrinkles that add to its character and authenticity. Let's look at a brief history of elephant leather. For thousands of years, ancient African and Asian civilizations have used elephant hides for things like clothing, armor, shelter, and even ceremonial items. The thick and durable nature of the elephant hide makes it really suitable for protection against harsh environments and other conditions. Also, due to the rarity and strength, it became associated with royalty and the elite. In many cultures, owning items made from elephant leather had signified wealth, power, and prestige. These items could include garments, accessories, furniture, and personal items. As advancements continued in global trade and technology and the industrialization of leather tanning, other materials became popular as well, and the demand for elephant leather gradually declined. Additionally, increased conservation efforts for elephants also kept the amount of leather being produced lower and lower over time to help these populations stay and grow. So because of that, and for a lot of good reasons, it's not a very popular leather that's out there, and it's not going to be as common to find as, say, a cow leather or a pig leather. So if it is available from an appropriate source, it does have some unique characteristics that can make some really interesting leather goods. Let's take a close-up look so you can see exactly what's going on the surface. So here's a zoomed-in view of the surface of elephant leather, and you can see some really unique characteristics here. We have a lot of that pebbling texture, all natural to this material. You can even see some kind of peaks and valleys, almost like little mountains when we're looking at it, this close. And that reflects a lot of the strength and durability of this hide as well, because those are going to help with, water resistance, scratch resistance, abrasion resistance, and essentially, being durable in relatively harsh conditions. Looking at the bottom, we see a tight, smooth grain pattern. We can almost in here as well see a pebbled texture there. And as we often see on the underside of hides, the grain pattern can open up a little bit, get a little more fuzzy in texture, and a little more space between those fibers. And looking at the cross section, we can really begin to see a lot now. That top layer, which was pebbled and very durable, looking here we see is actually relatively thin. So that speaks a lot to how dense and strong those fibers are when we can have a comparatively thin layer, give it that much strength and durability. And as we move down into these fibers, something else is really unique too. As they get towards the bottom, they do open up, but not as much as we see in like a typical cowhide leather, where those fibers are going to have a lot of space in between and be, pretty open and fuzzy towards the bottom. So where these do open up a little bit, it's still pretty dense and compact throughout, which is going to be another indicator that this is going to be a strong, durable leather. And we could also see how this was tanned. It appears it was treated on the top and bottom as well, whereas in the middle, it still retains some of that original kind of lighter color from the tanning process. So seeing the section view can also give us indicators into how a type of leather was tanned. Looking at the production process, in most cases, elephant leather is going to go through a chrome tanning process, and that utilizes chrome salts to bathe the leather in it and pretty much take just a couple days to complete that tanning process. It could take longer depending on how many cycles a particular run is going to go through. Yet in general, it's going to yield a leather that is going to be relatively durable and soft with some flexibility. How flexible is going to depend on the type of leather that was tanned. In this case, an elephant leather is going to be more durable, for example, than a pig leather, yet it's still going to have a little bit of that softness to it and flexibility as well. When looking at production volume, this is going to fall into the exotic leather category. There's around 23 billion square feet of leather produced each year, only of which 1% is exotic. And exotic could include all types of hides, like snake, alligator, crocodile, ostrich, of which all of them, elephant is just a tiny part. So far less than 1% of leather produced each year is elephant leather. Looking at the largest exporters, we're going to see Zimbabwe and India. And looking at some of the largest importers of elephant leather are going to be the United States, Germany, and Italy. When looking at cost, we really begin to see where this type of leather differentiates from others and how uncommon it is. We're looking at around $90 to $160 per square foot. There's going to be a few factors that influence that. One is going to be the initial quality of that hide. Another is going to be the quality of the tanning process that was used. And then additionally, especially for this type of an exotic leather, it's going to be its limited availability. So you could certainly find some a little cheaper, probably some a little more expensive, but in general, it's going to be around $90 to $160 per square foot, just given its rarity. Looking at some of the pros, we have big ones that stand out. One is its durability. It is a very dense, strong, durable leather throughout, and that's going to be great for a lot of uses. It also has a very unique grain texture to it. That surface texture adds, an aesthetic appeal. It also adds some functional appeal as well, given it's going to be a little less scratch prone and a little more abrasion resistant. Looking at the cons, it's definitely a more expensive leather. Given its rarity, the cost can be a lot. And so depending on what you're trying to make, that's definitely a factor to consider. Another is that it's going to be usually more difficult to get. Being that it is not as common, you're going to have to look a little more to find it, and then especially the sizes that you want and the qualities that you want. And additionally, you want to be very sensitive to where it's coming from. With any kind of leather, any type of material for any project, we want to make sure it's coming from an ethically sourced place through a responsible supply chain. So just given that, especially for an exotic leather, you're going to have to keep that in mind, and it may be a little trickier to find. For some good uses, we have wallets, handbags, belts, purses. You've even seen it for some, luxurious footwear and shoes. It's great for watch straps, jewelry, belts, luggage, pretty much any type of a smaller personal accessory it can be great for. And then depending on the availability of a larger piece, it can be used for those larger items as well. And here's a few tips for working with elephant leather. The first is going to be using quality tools. Given that this is a very dense, durable leather, and it also has that unique surface texture that's kind of like a pebbled pattern, you're going to be wanting to be using quality, sharp tools to cut through this. For example, if you're cutting with a knife, if it's dull, it may kind of jump around those pebbles and give you an uneven cut. If you're using a nice sharp tool, it could help give you a nice street, could help give you a straight, even cut that'll produce really nice edges and a fine fit and finish to your completed piece. Also, if you're going to work with this, take time to prepare. Given that it has the unique texture to it, you may want to align how that texture joins together, how those edges may look. If you're going to be stitching it, how and where those stitch lines are going to be, how the thread is going to sit in between that pebbling. So different than a smooth cowhide, for example, you may want to take a little more prep time to just make sure that things are going to fit together smoothly and look good as well, so that your finished piece has a really professional, nice look to it. So there you have it, a look into elephant leather. It's a really unique material, and if you've seen it, you kind of recognize it almost instantly. Also important too, to make sure if you're getting this, it's coming from a responsibly sourced place. It's important to do that, or consider maybe not even using it at all. This is one of those materials that it can produce some great results if it's being used responsibly. So with that, if you are looking for a really unique finished piece, this is definitely a leather to consider, and it'll make something unlike most anything else that you've made before. If you have any questions, let us know. If you've worked with this leather before or have made anything, definitely share with us. And until next time, keep crafting.